Michigan State University's Office of K-12 Outreach, bringing research, innovation, and best practices to educators across Michigan, the United States, and the world.
Let's get started. Ready to go?
Yep, rolling. Action.
Excellent. First off, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
What does cultural competence mean to you?
I don't know. I'm learning that. I used to think I knew. I used to think cultural competency was putting a poster up on the wall of the children or celebrating, for instance, Cinco de Mayo, or learning some of their language if it was a family that didn't speak English. And I used to think that I was very culturally responsive. In the past 6 to 7 months, especially I would say the last month, I don't think I am really culturally responsive. And it's hard to realize as someone who's always taken pride in her work that I always said, I'm colorblind. It doesn't matter what child I'm teaching. I teach them all the same. And to realize that that's such a falsehood. And by having that attitude, I've done a disservice to those students. So I can't answer what cultural competence is because I'm still learning what does that mean. It's more than skin color, I know that. I'm not sure how it integrates into the classroom. So that's my journey to start going on. And it seems kind of late in my career of 26 years to finally realize that that's a journey I have to take when I thought I'd already had that journey completed.
So, cultural competence is the ability to successfully teach students who come from cultures other than your own. Having said that, what does cultural competency look like in your classroom?
Last year, I would say, was the most difficult year teaching, and I truly struggled all year long. And so as I've spent the summer looking back at that, ask myself, what did I miss? What could have I done better or different? Saying to myself, but you just taught how you've always taught. But besides having some unique circumstances with some unique students, it just didn't work out. And that makes me sad for the students and for myself. But realizing that I need to change something. So what is it that I need to change? What tool am I missing that I'm not reaching my students? Part of the journey was moving from an almost all-white area in Flint, on the east side of Flint, coming to an almost all African-American on the north end of Flint. And my first attitude was, of course, this is a no-brainer. I teach all my children the same. I'm colorblind, like my parents raised me to be. And realizing that, no, my African-American students react differently. They learn differently, interact with each other differently. And I think I went through a while of being angry about that. I'm the classroom teacher, and you need to do what I need you to do so I can make you learn. And I think I'm realizing now that the reason it didn't work was because I didn't understand them. So I'm at that part in my professional and personal journey now where I have to say, but what are you like? What's important to you? What's important to your family? How do you learn? How do you interact as a group? How do you handle the stressors in their life that they deal with? That's part of my journey, and it's a huge chunk. And like I said before, who would have thought at 26 years into teaching, I would have to do that?
Characteristics of a culturally responsive teacher: socio-cultural consciousness, an affirming attitude towards students from culturally diverse backgrounds, commitment and skills to act as agents of change, constructivist views of learning, learning about students, culturally responsive teaching strategies. What are your expectations moving forward?
My expectations are more for me to build that relationship. And I've heard many years, that relationship idea thrown around. It's important. It's what makes change. But I think I'm really internalizing that. And what makes me sound hopeful now, which you probably wouldn't have heard, even in the past 3 months, you wouldn't have heard hopeful from me. You probably would have heard anger and frustration from me, that I'm just ready to be done and not go to work and just retire. What I'm hearing now, especially over the last 3 days between the symposium now, is the hope is because of the change in me, that I can make that change that's going to make that difference. I want to be one of those teachers that makes the impact that we heard those students talk about the past couple of days. The teacher that understands what they're going through and how they're dealing with it and how impactful that is on learning, and then how impactful that is on my classroom community. That's where the hope comes in.
Culturally responsive teaching, using cultural knowledge, prior experiences, and performance styles of diverse students to make learning more appropriate and effective for them.
I keep thinking to myself, I think I'm already falling in love with my students this year, and I haven't even met them. How is that possible, to fall in love with a group of children you don't even know? But that's how I've been thinking today. I think I'm already in love with my students. And it's because I can see myself going down that path of knowing who they are as people, not as a number or as a student, as a real person.
Now let's think about this. As school leaders, how do we keep this important cultural competency conversation going?